But that which ye have already hold fast till I come. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father. And I will give him the morning star. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches.
Shalom, shalom. First thing and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak Radash. Secondly, I want to give double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught me this truth in righteousness and in sincerity. And third of all, I want to give salutations to the hopeful elect that's out on the highways and byways teaching and preaching this word in truth and in sincerity. The title of this lesson is going to be The Sword in Their Destruction Draweth Nigh. Once again, the sword in their destruction draweth nigh. And who is that speaking of? That's speaking of the wicked, right along with the 2/3, which are wicked Israelites that have gone astray from the ways of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And they have, completely fallen in love with Babylon the Great, in the ways that Babylon the Great, operates. But I'ma just and also the heathen nations as well. Let me not forget them, because they're all gonna be going. All nations are gonna be going through hell, when all hell breaks loose, when Jacob's trouble pops off, because all nations dwell here, so all nations are gonna be getting judged in Babylon the Great, But it reads in verse 14, this is 2nd Esdras chapter 15, verse 14, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. Verse 15, for the sword in their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Right. But jumping back to verse 14, woe means death and destruction, so death and destruction to the world, which is Esau's world, Esau's kingdom, and them that dwell therein, them that are a part of this kingdom, them that are dwelling and feeling safe under the rulership of Esau Edom, them that are joining themselves unto Esau Edom, dwelling with him, dwelling with his philosophies, dwelling with his doctrine, his doctrines, because there's a lot of different doctrines, that Esau Edom has constructed, to blind and confuse our people. But it reads in verse 15, for the sword in their destruction draweth nigh. Right, and the modern day sword is the gun, but a sword is anything that you can use to kill somebody with. So, it could be a crowbar, a baseball bat, a brick, anything that you use to kill somebody with is considered a sword. But it reads, and one people shall stand up and fight against another. Right. So you're going to have different people battling your neighbors, you and your best friend, your best friend might try and come and, take what you got, It's just going to be all hell breaking loose out here, And if you're not of the elect, if you're not of the 1/3, you're going to be left out here to be terrified and to ultimately be spoiled, to be destroyed. Whether by the plagues and, the judgments that's going to be coming, during Jacob's trouble when all hell breaks loose, or whether it's going to be the Lord is going to prolong your life up until the nukes so that you can see them fall down and you can just feel it, all in one, burn you up into a crisp, It's however the Lord wants it, however it was written before the foundation of the earth for you to be judged in that final, that final judgment, But it reads, uh where is it? And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. And Salakia, I didn't mean final judgment. I meant the second death. Salakia. So, in that second death, you know, if you're not, you know, if you're not protected by Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, if you make it to the end of Jacob's trouble, that second death is just going to be waiting right there for you, which is the nuclear destruction, which is going to transform America into a lake of fire. This whole continent is going to be up in flames, burnt crispy, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, and it reads, and one people shall stand up, one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Right, so they're going to be using all kind of weapons to fight each other. And it reads in verse 16, and there shall be sedition among men. Right, now what is sedition? This is sedition. Sedition is the act of inciting people to rebel against the established order, often through speech or organization. It can also refer to the crime of creating a disturbance, revolt, or violence against the civil authority with the intent to overthrow or destroy it. Right. So these governments, these governors, you got your president, all of the people that's so-called calling the shots, because we all know that the elites are ultimately pulling the strings behind closed doors. But those that are here, that these Babylonians believe are calling the shots, they go be, these Babylonians are going to be rising up, they're going to be pushing back, when that micro C-hip get established, and they begin to force it, it's going to be pushback. Eventually these Babylonians are going to fold. Eventually they're going to become domesticated because they don't have the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai within them to guide them. But at the beginning stages, they're going to be pushing back, they not going to be trying to change, because that's one thing that Esau has bred in Babylon, the will to not change, never wanting to change, when you get to a certain point, never wanting to grow anymore or change up what you may be doing wrong, especially if you thought you was doing it right your whole life, But it reads, and invading one another. Right, so they're going to be invading each other, from house to house, breaking windows, kicking doors in, just, because they hungry, they ain't got no food, no water, they ain't got nothing. So they got to go get it. They got to go find it. And you the only one that got it. They see you and they see you as the only one that got it. They not looking at you and like, oh, I'm gonna let him or her be. I'm probably go find somebody else. Nah. If they see the opportunity, they go take it when they ain't got nothing else. When they stomach is growling, sounding like a lion growling, But it reads in verse 16, and invading one another, they shall not regard their kings nor princes. Right. So these rulers, the president, you got your governors, these Babylonians are not going to care about none of the mandates, none of the laws, they're not going to care about none of that. Martial law and all of that, these Babylonians are going to be completely through, mentally they're already through, they're already all over the place, because they've been brainwashed and stripped from all sense of reality, and they've been given nothing but falsehood. So they've been living their whole life in a fairy tale world, within their mind. So once reality hits them and they see that the people that has been bamboozling them and lying to them this whole time, once they see that that's the case, and that these people don't care about them, they not go want to hear nothing that these rulers have to say. They not gonna care about none of the laws that they care about right now. They're not gonna care about any of that when that power get cut off, when that food and water stop coming in. Once that water stop running in the sink, and the stores stop replenishing their goods. They're not gonna. These Babylonians are not gonna care anymore. And I'm speaking by Babylonians, I'm speaking of the 2/3, which are the wicked Israelites that's going to be judged. I'm speaking of the wicked, which is Esau, Edom, and I'm speaking of the other nations, which, compose of all of these other nations outside of the 12 tribes of Israel. So-called Ishmaelite, Salakia. So-called Arabs, Ishmaelites, the Ishmaelites, the so-called Chinese being the Moabites, these different nations, they're all dwelling in Babylon the Great. You have a little bit of everybody here, and they're all going to be rising up, and, they're just not going to care anymore. You go see race wars out here. You go see all kind of judgments going forth. All of the scriptures are going to be clear as day when Jacob's trouble pops off, when all hell breaks loose. But it reads, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Right. So they're going to be moving in their own mindset, whatever they want, whatever they see fit, whatever they desire, that's what they're going to do. They're not going to be thinking about anybody else. They're not going to be thinking about any laws that's been established by Esau, Edom. None of that is going to matter anymore. It's just going to be, I need to survive. I'm running low on food. My kids crying. They need food. They hungry. My wife crying. She need food. She thirsty. So we got to go get that by any means possible, But it reads in verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. They gonna be having all kind of blockages, locking it. They gonna be locking, America down, with different checkpoints and things like that. The game The Last of Us kind of showed you that, they have different checkpoints separating the different states and different cities, and that's going to come to fruition in reality. It's a lot of things that they could say in a lot of different events that they've caused that they can use to give them a reason to lock America down. All of these migrants coming in. You got different viruses, different plagues, coming out the blue. You got all kind of things happening to the point where at any moment they could say that this is happening. We need to lock these states down. We don't need to have people moving around anymore. It's not safe. It's too much. It's too dangerous. Just because they want to lock everything down and have full control over what you're doing and where you're going, But it reads in verse 18, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. Right. These people are proud, They don't see the fall of America coming soon. They don't see America being able to fall in the future. They don't see that happening, They see America prolonging forever. But that's not the case. It says, for their pride, the city shall be troubled. Right. So trouble is going to be all within these cities. Just think about New York City with no power, no water supply, and no food coming in. All of those people living in New York City. You know, it's gonna be all kind of chaos within the streets and within those buildings. You know, you're not gonna have kumbaya people grouping together to, stop, like, change the minds of the people and bring everybody back to sanity and, back to being human again, acting like a civilized person. No, because they gonna need resources. Everybody gonna need resources, and if you don't have those resources, I don't care what you're saying. That's how it's gonna be. You know, you can shut up or die. That's how it's gonna be. You know, and it says the houses shall be destroyed. Right. So these houses, these buildings, like I was just talking about New York. It's gonna be all kind of judgments going down within these buildings. Them skyscrapers. Houses. Houses gonna be getting broken in, looted. Windows broken, doors kicked off the hinges. And it reads, the houses shall be destroyed and men shall be afraid. Right, so you ain't gonna have no gangsta hood, hood niggas like you have today. All of these so-called drill rappers and, these gangsters. You got your NBA young boys and your King Vons, You're not gonna have those dudes walking around acting all big and bad in the days that all hell break loose. They're gonna be terrified because that safety net, that covering, is gonna be taken away, and it's just gonna be pure chaos. But it reads in verse 19, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of lack of bread and for great tribulation. Right. So the tribulation that they going through, the things that they done seen, while they going through this hell, when all hell breaks loose, them not having any food, any water, them losing people that they, loved. These things are going to drive them insane. It's going to cause them to lose all sanity and become animalistic, and beast-like. They're going to care about nothing but getting what they need, by any means possible. By any means, whatever they have to do to get what they need, they're going to do, It reads, I'm going to go back up in 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, So them days of going outside saying, hey, neighbor, waving at your neighbor, having a nice 2-minute conversation. He invites you over to have he having a barbecue. He invites you over to grab a plate. Y'all maybe sit down, laugh and drink, watch the game. Those days are going to be over, And that same neighbor is going to look at you like he never knew you. Once he lose everything, once he sees that all hell has broken loose, and that there's no more so-called safety, he's going to take what he needs, or at least he's going to try, And if you don't have Yahweh Bashim Hashai protecting you and guiding you, you're going to be caught up in these days. Whether he causes you to perish within Jacob's trouble, or if you are, preserved for to see those nukes drop, and to feel that fire. But ultimately, everybody go feel that fire. That's not of the elect or the 1/3, But, and you go have, these other nations that are going to be, preserved so that they nation can come back in the kingdom of heaven, be reincarnated. But everybody in Babylon the Great, you have all nations here. Everybody here is going to feel that fire, and everywhere else that those nukes do hit, So that judgment, that fire, it's going to be worldwide, But Babylon the Great is the main place where those nukes is going to be smacking, because this is the most wicked kingdom that has ever existed, ever, But people ain't going to have nothing to lose, So they going to stop at nothing to get what they see from you, what you might have. Let you try to turn on a generator. You gonna have all kind of people pulling up to, take you out, So in that day, it's gonna be no such thing as safety for these people. It's gonna be no such thing as, being saved for these people, Friends, that's gonna be a thing of the past, You can have somebody that you rolling with, these people in the world, they might be rolling, and you might have 3 people that's rolling together looting, because they understand the strength in numbers. But watch once they don't have anything. No, watch once they lose what they have. Watch once the substance and the resources that they were gathering starts to dwindle, and they start to suffer and start to starve. They're gonna turn on each other. If you're not a man of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, you're not going to be built for that day. The only true people that's going to stick together is the elect, And that's it. But I hope that this lesson was edifying and that the point was brought out clearly, to you brothers and sisters. And until next time, I just want to say shalom. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. For the sword in their destruction draweth nigh. And one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hand. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city, and shall not be able. For because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid.